Why Judgment Day will be harsher for you than others. Any discussion about the Day of Judgment is usually fearful. However, it becomes scarier when you get to know that the Day of Judgment will be harsher for you than others. That is the truth. This is not in any way to instill fear into us, but to prepare us further for the coming of the Lord. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. Look at Luke chapter 12. Here, Jesus is telling a parable to tell people what it's going to be like when he comes back. Essentially, what he says is the people who had greater knowledge and did evil, they will be beaten with many blows. But the people who had lesser knowledge and did evil will be beaten with fewer blows. Brothers and sisters, judgment will be harsher for those who know than those who don't know. Luke chapter 12, verse 35 through 48. Let your loins be girded about, and your lights burning, and ye yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord, when he will return from the wedding, that when he cometh and knocketh, they may open unto him immediately. Blessed are those servants, who the Lord when he cometh shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself, and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them. And if he shall come in the second watch, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. And this know, that if the good man of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched, and not suffered his laws to be broken through. Be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when ye think not. Then Peter said unto him, Lord, speakest thou this parable unto us, or even to all? And the Lord said, Who then is that faithful and wise steward, whom his Lord shall make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord when he cometh shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you, that he will make him ruler over all that he hath. But if that servant say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to beat the men servants and maidens, and to eat and drink, and to be drunken, the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in sunder, and will appoint him his portion with unbelievers. Here is the Bible verses I want you to focus on. And that servant, which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. In the generation we live, we have been given a lot. We have the ability to type in one verse on YouTube, and we will be met by literally thousands of hours of videos expanding on that one verse. As a whole, the general knowledge of the Word of God right now is higher than any other point in human history. Do you understand that? For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall much be required. Our knowledge of the Word of God even exceeds the apostles. They only wrote sections of the scriptures, but we have access to the complete Word of God. They didn't have access to the complete Word of God. Brothers and sisters, I say this kindly, judgment for you will be a lot harsher than others. Now, do you know what is a sobering thought for me as an individual? I am a teacher of the Word, and just like you, my judgment will be harsher than others. James chapter 3, verse 1. Not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly. This is a verse that puts the fear of God into my life, and it should also do so to other teachers. God will judge us on the last day with special strictness on account of our influence over others. It is easy to take the position of a teacher lightly, without considering the cost in terms of accountability. So I know my judgment will be harsher. And if you are also a teacher, or if you have any platform to reach people, whether it may be digital or a physical church congregation, your judgment will be stricter. Even if you are not a teacher, nevertheless, you have access to so many biblical resources. I want to remind you, your judgment will be harsher. I encourage you, brothers and sisters, remember this when you live your life. Remember that each day you are moving towards a day where you will have to give account of your life. Remember, I encourage you to live a holy life. This sermon is as much for you as it is for me. This sermon is for this generation that has been given a lot. Much will be required of us. Live a holy life. Live a righteous life. Live a pure life. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 19 through 20, "Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except for righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter in the kingdom of heaven." The Pharisees are observers of the law, and they are good at it, so to say. However, Jesus stated in very clear terms that if our righteousness does not exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees, we will not be able to enter in heaven. The reason is because the righteousness of the law is not the highest form of righteousness. The Pharisees only had the righteousness of the law, which cannot save anyone because it is a form of righteousness sought through the works of the flesh and not by faith in the finished works of Christ. But Christ has called us to a higher form of righteousness. Therefore, he expects us to be more righteous than the Pharisees. The standard of God for believers in the New Testament didn't get lower. Rather, it was upgraded. There is a higher demand of holiness from us. My heart hurts for those who believe in false doctrines and leverage on the grace and mercy of God to practice sin. The grace and mercy of God is not a license to sin. James chapter 4 verse 17 says, "Therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin." Now, we have been enlightened. We know what God requires from us. We know that he demands holiness from us. With all the biblical teachings we have received, we know the instructions of God for our living. But if we fail to do them, then we are guilty of sin. Anyone who knows what is good but fails to do them will face a harsher judgment on the last day. Believers know what is good because the Bible states it explicitly. The Word of God is given to guide our lifestyles, thoughts, words, and actions. It reflects the mind of God for us. If we go against the Word of God, it means we are defiant to his laws and commands. The higher you go with God, the more careful you should be. The more you know about God, the greater risk you stand when you commit sin. I am here to remind you, brothers and sisters, not only to remind you, but to encourage you. Live a holy life. When you read the Word of God, your knowledge of God is increasing. When you watch videos like this, your knowledge of God is increasing. I encourage you to live a holy life. History is not stationary. Our lives are not stationary. We are all moving along a line. From the second you were born, you started moving on that line. And at the end of that line is death. And what follows straight after death is judgment. So, I implore you, I plead with you, brothers and sisters, I beg you, live each day knowing that one day I will have to give account for my life. If you live each day with this in your mind, you will find yourself saying no to sin. You will find yourself saying no to unrighteousness. You will find yourself saying no to impurity. You will find yourself saying no to adultery. You will find yourself saying no to sexual immorality. You will find yourself saying no to perversion, no to lust, no to stealing, lying, corruption, degradation, filth, and all kinds of sin.